Have you ever noticed a chilling silence in your inner circle right when you finally start succeeding? Think back to a time when you were struggling, when you complained about your financial problems, your heartbreaks, or your lack of direction. Your friends and colleagues were eager to offer comfort. They bought you drinks, patted your back, and told you that everything would be okay. When you are broken, people love to be around you. There is a comforting, effortless warmth in shared misery. But watch closely what happens when you decide to change your life. When you wake up early, build discipline, start making real money, or finally enforce strong personal boundaries, the dynamic shifts overnight. Instead of enthusiastic applause, you are met with something deeply disturbing. Awkward silences, backhanded compliments, unprovoked skepticism, and a sudden, freezing emotional distance from the people you called your friends. Welcome back to Subconscious Scan. You don't notice it, but your growth is treated as an act of betrayal. Why is it that the people who claim to love you the most can suddenly become your most covert detractors? Why does your self-improvement provoke secret hostility in the individuals who are supposed to be celebrating your elevation? To uncover the unspoken, dark architecture of human envy, we must turn to one of the most uncompromising and fearless philosophers in history, Friedrich Nietzsche. While conventional psychology tries to convince us that friends and loved ones always want the best for us, Nietzsche saw through the pleasantries of society. He understood a brutal psychological truth. Most human relationships are built on an unspoken, unconscious contract. It is a contract of equality in weakness. When you form a friendship, there is usually a tacit understanding of where each person stands in the hierarchy of success, attractiveness, and ambition. You are comfortable with each other precisely because neither of you is moving too fast. You share the same excuses. You validate each other's fears. You justify each other's stagnation. This is the illusion of support. People are entirely happy to support you as long as your success does not surpass their own. They want you to do well, just never better than them. Because the moment you break out of the routine, the moment you shed your laziness and begin conquering your goals, you unilaterally rip up that unspoken contract of equality. You become a psychological anomaly. Here is the secret that civilized society refuses to admit. Your elevation is an unconscious insult to those who choose to stay behind. When you stay stagnant, your friends can blame the economy, bad luck, or the unfairness of the world for their own lack of achievement. But when someone from their own circle, someone with the exact same background, the exact same resources, and the exact same obstacles, suddenly rises above the crowd, all of their excuses instantly evaporate. Your new discipline acts as a merciless, blinding mirror held directly in front of their faces. They do not look at your success and see inspiration. They look at your success and see a reflection of their own cowardice, their own procrastination, and their own wasted potential. And instead of letting that mirror inspire them to change, their ego chooses to attack the mirror. Today we are scanning the anatomy of covert envy. We will descend into the dark psychology of what Nietzsche called ressentiment, expose the three masks your close circle uses to sabotage your momentum, and show you how to embrace the sovereign solitude of the heights without ever apologizing for your ambition. Prepare your mind. We are breaking the contract. If the unspoken contract of friendship is built on equality in weakness, what happens inside the human mind when that contract is broken? What is the exact psychological mechanism that transforms a supportive companion into a silent, bitter adversary? To answer this, we must descend into the deepest, most toxic chamber of human psychology, Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of ressentiment. In everyday language, we often use words like jealousy or envy. But Nietzsche realized that ressentiment is something far more sinister, far more enduring, and deeply destructive. Regular envy is simple. Somebody has what you want, and you wish you had it too. But ressentiment is a chronic psychological disease born from profound feelings of impotence, cowardice, and self-contempt. Imagine an individual who desperately wants to achieve greatness, financial freedom, respect, or physical discipline. But every single time they face the required suffering, the risk of failure, or the relentless daily grind, they back down. Their courage fails them. Over months and years, this repeated cowardice creates a crushing internal debt. They realize deep down that they are failing because of their own choices. But facing that truth is too devastating for the human ego to survive. So, the psyche performs a dark, self-protective mutation. Instead of directing hatred inward toward their own laziness and procrastination, they project their hatred outward, toward anyone who actually possesses the discipline they lack. This is the birth of ressentiment, a festering underground venom that consumes those who refuse to take responsibility for their own elevation. Now, think of your psyche as stepping into this damp, subterranean stone atrium. Watch the cold mist creeping across the floor. This mist represents the exact atmosphere of what modern psychology calls the crab bucket mentality. You have likely heard the famous metaphor. If you put a single crab in a bucket, it will easily climb out and escape to freedom. But if you put dozens of crabs together in that same bucket, a chilling phenomenon occurs. Whenever one brave crab starts climbing toward the rim, reaching for the light of freedom, the other crabs will reach up with their claws, grab it, and violently pull it back down into the dark trap. Why? Because the climbing crab threatens the comfort of the collective prison. In human relationships, when you start waking up at 5 in the morning, when you launch that business, or when you walk away from toxic habits, you are the crab reaching for the rim. And the people sitting at the bottom of the bucket feel an existential panic. Your escape proves that the bucket is not a permanent prison. It proves that they could leave if they only had your discipline and courage. To survive this devastating realization, they must drag you back down. And how do they do it without looking like villains? They use what Nietzsche brilliantly identified as the weaponization of morality. Since the envious cannot compete with your strength, your work ethic, or your ambition, they attempt to invert the very definitions of good and evil. They begin to frame your newfound ambition as greed. They label your self-respect and boundaries as arrogance and ego. And they disguise their own stagnation, cowardice, and passivity as humility, modesty, and kindness. They try to make you feel morally guilty for outgrowing them. They whisper that you have changed, that you are forgetting who you are, or that you are abandoning your roots. All to trick you into dropping your momentum and stepping back into the cage just to make them feel comfortable again. Let us now ascend from this dark atrium and examine how this underground venom leaks into your daily interactions. As we expose the 3 specific manipulative masks your close circle wears to quietly sabotage your momentum. Let us now step out of the dark stone atrium of the mind and step into the arena of daily action. The people sitting in the crab bucket of stagnation seldom attack you directly. They do not have the courage to say, "I am furious because your discipline is exposing my cowardice." That would reveal their lack of power. Instead, they wear masks. They channel their ressentiment through socially acceptable, supportive, and sophisticated behaviors, designed to quietly poison your ambition and make you step back into the cage of shared misery. If you are expanding your business, building your physique, or enforcing strong boundaries, you must be able to instantly scan for these 3 masks of covert sabotage.
The first and most common mask is the passive-aggressive joke. Humor is the ultimate armor for envy because it provides plausible deniability. You tell your friend about your first major financial success or that you're launching your passion project. Instead of saying, "Congratulations," they deliver a snarky, cynical jab disguised as wit. "Wow, look at you. Guess you finally decided to stop slacking and actually try. Just kidding, just kidding." Or, "Careful, don't forget us common people when you're a millionaire. Just messing with you." If you don't laugh, they gaslight you. "You're taking yourself too seriously. It was just a joke." But Nietzsche would warn us, there is no such thing as a joke about power. Every snarky comment is a heat-seeking missile aimed directly at the height of your empty pedestal. The goal is to shrink your achievement so they don't feel small standing next to it. The second, and far more insidious mask, is the caring warning. This is envy wrapped in the velvet of concern.
When you share your plans for massive change, like starting that business or ending that relationship, they do not cheer you on. Instead, they suddenly become extreme rational skeptics, ostensibly for your own good. "Are you sure about that, though? I'm just worried about your mental health. 90% of businesses fail, you know." Or, "I'm just saying be careful. That's very risky. I wouldn't want you to crash and burn." They present themselves as supportive realism, but they are actually projecting their own paralysis and incompetence onto you. They attempt to infect you with their own safe, low-risk slave morality. They do not want to see you climb out of the bucket because they don't want to admit that they are too afraid to try climbing themselves. Do not confuse their fear-mongering with genuine support. The third and final mask is the emotional boycott. This is the weapon of pure silence. Remember the paradox from Chapter 1. These people were always there to comfort you when you were broken. Sharing misery required zero effort or vulnerability from them. But when you win, suddenly they are not there. They become ghost towns. They don't congratulate you. They stop liking your posts. They become busy whenever you want to hang out. They withhold their presence as a punishment for your dared elevation. This silence is not a neutral act. It is a deliberate, unilateral, emotional boycott. They are punishing you for unilaterally ripping up the unspoken contract of shared weakness. They cannot celebrate you because your success makes them face the sacrosanct truth. They have wasted their own potential. And by wearing these masks, the snarky joke, the fear-based warning, and the silent boycott, they are making themselves feel big again by attempting to shrink you. The only remaining question is, do you let them succeed, or do you ascend the highest peaks? We have exposed the unspoken contract of shared weakness, descended into the toxic underground of ressentiment, and unmasked the covert tactics your inner circle uses to sabotage your momentum.
Now we arrive at the ultimate psychological crossroads.
What do you do when you realize that the people you love do not want you to grow? How do you continue your ascent without being crushed by the guilt of leaving others behind or being consumed by bitterness toward those who tried to pull you down? To answer this, we must embrace the highest and most liberating ideal in Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy, the concept of the Übermensch, the Overman. The Übermensch is the individual who has completely conquered the need for external validation, social conformity, and the safety of the herd. They do not look to the crowd to define their values, and they do not slow down their stride just to keep walking beside those who refuse to run. The first step to attaining this sovereign mindset
is to completely eradicate the guilt of your elevation. When you start succeeding, the people in the crab bucket will try to make you feel cold, arrogant, or selfish for outgrowing them.
But you must imprint this fundamental truth onto your nervous system. You are not responsible for saving people who are actively fighting to stay at the bottom. Your potential is not a democracy. You do not need the permission of your peers to become exceptional. When you dim your light to make an envious friend feel comfortable, you are not practicing kindness. You are committing psychological suicide. You are robbing the world of your highest self just to appease someone else's ego. As Nietzsche profoundly wrote, "You must be ready to burn yourself in your own flame. How could you rise anew if you have not first become ashes?" The second step is mastering what Nietzsche called the pathos of distance. When you recognize the snarky jokes, the fake warnings, and the emotional boycotts from your circle, what should your reaction be? Should you argue with them? Should you try to expose their jealousy? Should you seek revenge? No. The ultimate weapon against ressentiment is absolute indifference. When you fight back against a crab trying to pull you down, you are forcing yourself to reach back into the bucket. You are engaging on their level, wasting your precious psychological energy on those who thrive in the mud. The sovereign individual does not argue. They do not complain. They simply build a massive, undeniable gap of achievement between themselves and their detractors. Let your relentless discipline be your only response. Let your silence be the boundary that cannot be crossed. When you climb high enough into the mountains, the voices at the bottom of the bucket simply fade into the wind. Many people abandon their self-improvement because they are terrified of the loneliness that comes with outgrowing their old circle. But Nietzsche taught us that this loneliness is not a curse. It is a sacred initiation. It is sovereign solitude. When you shed the relationships that were built on shared weakness, you create a necessary, empty space in your life. You are clearing the stage, and only when you stand unshakable in your solitude will you begin to attract your true tribe. You will naturally magnetize other sovereign individuals who are also climbing the heights. You will build friendships based not on mutual complaining, but on mutual inspiration, strength, and an uncompromising pursuit of greatness. You don't notice it, but your elevation is your destiny. Now, we want to scan your life. Look back at your own journey of self-improvement and be completely honest. What was the number one reaction you received from old friends when you started changing your life? Was it the snarky joke, the caring warning, or the silent boycott? Tell us your story in the comments below, if you have the courage to stand on the mountain peak. Subscribe to Subconscious Scan and join us as we continue to map the unseen architecture of the human psyche. Until next time, never apologize for your height.